Welcome to Creatives Grab Coffee, the podcast on the business of video production.
Creatives Grab Coffee is hosted by Dario Nuri and Kirill Lazarov from Labs Productions. Our goal is to share knowledge and experiences from video production professionals around the world. Whether you're a freelancer looking to start your own business or a seasoned business owner aiming to scale your company, this is the show for you.
Join us as we develop a community of like-minded creatives looking to learn and help each other grow. Welcome to the business of video production. Welcome to Creatives Grab Coffee.
Before we get started with the show, let's go over today's sponsors.
Do you have a shoot in Toronto? Do you need crew or a strong production partner to help you with your project? Labs Productions is one of the top production companies in Toronto and your go-to video partner.
With our strong creative skills and extensive network, we can help you achieve your goal. Labs Productions is able to offer you production services, white label services, or finder fees for project handoffs.
Reach out to us on our website at labsproductions.com to learn more.
My name is Miran. Welcome to Canada Film Equipment. We are a boutique rental house based in Toronto. We are here to help you guys out with all production sizes. Feel free to contact us to get a quote if you are a production house and you're looking for lighting, camera packages, or lighting and group fan packages. You can see our contact information in the link below. We are more than happy to help you guys out. Make sure you follow and subscribe to creativesgrabcoffee.com. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt. Welcome to Audio Process. We are a boutique audio company doing location sound, sound design, post-sound, ADR, Foley. We service equipment. We do all your audio needs here in Toronto. We got you covered. Come on down, audioprocess.ca. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and all of the other internet things to creativesgrabcoffee.com. They'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you, and we're all going to have a real good time.
And now, let's begin the show.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode. And today we got Bear Prandelli from Wulfenbear Productions. Or
up,
what
guys?
do you guys? It's just Wulfenbear
Media.
Media. I've been screwing up the names of all the production companies lately. I gotta
Maybe
stop
we should
this trend.
ask Dario on that.
But I like your website. It says where classical meets metal, which is something you would expect from a name like Wulfenbear.
Yeah, I was not expecting your name to actually be Bear.
I wasn't
When you
expecting
see-
it either when I reached out to him.
Yeah, no, it's for
And
real.
His brother's name is Wolf too. Like, girl, I don't know if I told you this.
Yes.
I was like, there's no way, but I mean, it's kind of on trend with this now.
Yeah, we have some pretty interesting parents, so it definitely makes for a good icebreaker.
Well,
So
you
what are you
gotta
gonna
break
name your
that ice
kids?
now. Well, no, Kirill, I want to hear the story. Like, you can't just say my name's Bear and leave it at that.
Oh
Yeah,
man!
so how did you get into video?
Yeah, right.
How's an Italian with a name like Bear and Wolf come about? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a story to that. So our back in the '80s, before I was born, before my brother was born, our dad hitchhiked across America. Ended up staying with some natives in Washington, who let him like hang out with them for a week or so. Did a mushroom ceremony with them. Spent like a week with them in some sort of sweat lodge. Kind of fell in love with a lot of the cultures and tradition, just all of that. So we both got totem names, essentially.
Oh, that's
He's
cool.
like in love with like anything having to do with Native American history and stuff like that. Which is funny because we grew up in Italy. He's like half Italian, half German.
Yeah.
So very, very separate cultures, but that's
Wow.
that's where it came from.
Yeah, I just want to know how hard it was to convince your mom to go along with that, because I can understand the guy saying, "I want." It's like in Seinfeld when George wanted to name his kid Seven, and his wife or fiance was totally against it.
Yeah. That it's I can't I don't have that much info on that. I know my mom didn't fight too hard though. So
It's almost like when a kid says he wants to be Dragon, and be called Dragon almost sometimes, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, that obviously Dragon's like a little crazy, but yeah, but Bear and Wolf are you don't see that too often, people being named that. So it just seemed like a no-brainer for your company name, I guess.
Wolf and Bear.
Just,
yeah, we didn't give it that much thought. we started putting stuff down on a list and was like, this one's kind of right here. Might as well just roll with it. Um, yeah, there
What's
weren't that many options on the list when we were coming up with names, and when we threw that one out there, it was
Well,
like,
I can imagine like Bear Wolf Media. It doesn't have the same, but
nah.
Yeah, that kind of flows a bit better.
Yeah, it flows well.
Usually when you're starting a business, a lot of people say don't name it after yourself because then it's kind of limiting. It's like, oh, they're always going to want that person's name doing the video or the photography for their client. But Wolf and Bear, it's like it's kind of like a power name, It's like it is your names, but it can also be an umbrella name as well. So it's kind of like a it's unique. It's unique
Yeah.
given the story.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing it for the first time and going like, okay, these guys probably love metal. That was like my initial impression.
Yeah.
It was like,
Well, it's kind of funny, you brought up the word classical meets metal, and that's my brother came up with that little slogan, and it really is partially because I'm like the metalhead. I love going out to shows. I play in a band. Go to as many like, local or like big concerts as I can. And then Wolf is very like he's into jazz and blues, and he brought a typewriter to college instead of using a computer. And yeah, yeah, and it kind of translates. There's
can
like
you
a lot
imagine
of
in class, like you just hear tick, 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 tick,
yeah, that's so
How
much
can
for
you
class.
focus?
But like he showed me some of his old essays, and all the stuff that he would hand in was written on a typewriter. Even now we have. Oh, it's not in here, but it's in the other room. We have the typewriter. He still loves to write on it. Anytime he does treatments for, little stories or essays or short stories, ideas that we have to film, that's usually all done on a typewriter.
I know. I heard Christopher Nolan and Tarantino still do that, but I guess it makes sense because they're so into like the old school of making that. But that's
It
cool.
also
That's cool.
it kind of forces you, I think one of the things that we try to apply in a lot of the ways that we work too is, you got to be in touch with what all the new stuff is, all the gear, all the new whatever. But at the same time, like if you're forced to sit there and physically type everything out, and you know that any mistake you make is time spent erasing it, or that's money, just like shooting film, then you think a little bit harder about what you put on the paper.
It's also less distracting too, right? You're not going to get, Instagram notifications coming up on the typewriter.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, very accurate.
Yeah, no distractions, and it just leaves you in the moment, like laser focused on the task at hand, which it really is an art. When you think about the old school style of doing things, that's why a lot of people like to go back to it because of how undistracting it can be to really focus in on what you're doing.
Absolutely,
Undistracting
man.
is not a word.
I know, I noticed it as soon as I said it, but I'm gonna make it a word. Less distracting.
My parents had a
It's not meant to be portable, so I don't know how your brother took that to class all the time. Like his textbooks alone were heavy.
Yeah, right. It's a pain in the ass for security at the airports too.
Oh my god.
That typewriter.
There's no way he brings it because that thing must weigh already 50 pounds. Like you can imagine, like you're already over the limit.
Over the limit for the baggage fees. Like the baggage fee is like $100 for just that alone.
Yeah, try busting that out on Southwest Airlines while you're sitting there next to everybody else. Make everyone real happy. Yeah,
That's cool. But okay, so it's you and your brother.
yeah,
How you guys must have a really good relationship. No?
yeah. I mean, we do. We've been pretty close ever since he was in high school. I think we both shared a lot of common interests in film and photography, and even though we have different musical tastes, there's also a lot of crossover. So just anything that has to do with like the arts and kind of creative stuff, I think we just have a lot of appreciation for the same stuff. And so, he went to school a little bit more on the kind of writing and history of cinema track. I was more in broadcasting, but then when we started the company, it was a really good marriage of like skills, interests, kind of goals with what we want to do with the company. And like anything, I mean, we fight like brothers every now and then. Something goes wrong, we just got to yell at each other a little bit. But we've gotten really good at kind of figuring out how to do that in a way where it's, um, where A, we're not staying mad at each other, and B, it's not affecting the business in a negative way. Because at the end of the day, it's like we're spending so much time together. You got to learn how to get along. You know.
Totally agree.
You're describing a lot of the stuff with just Daria and myself. Even I mean, like we've been doing this for so long to the point where it is very similar to that type of relationship as well.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
yesterday we were on a shoot, and we were in the midst of filming on like two ends of the room, and I look over, he's like switching over a battery, and he did it in a way that I didn't like, and I'm just like strap that battery. But I'm like saying it quietly.
And you know what? I knew what he was saying, but I just didn't like how he was saying it, so I still didn't do it properly.
I knew it. I knew that's why. I knew that's why he did it.
So, I just to irritate him more, I played stupid. Like, what are you talking about?
And it's just little things like that, right? It's like it doesn't affect anything.
I was like
man.
pretended. I was like, the photographer was close. I told him, I'm like, Vincent, go see what's wrong with Kirill. What's he talking about?
Dude, so we'll be on
Yeah.
shoots sometimes, and the way our dynamics are, depending on who's hiring us, if it's a shoot where we're just both cam opping, we're both shooting, then usually it doesn't come up. But if it's something where we're kind of producing it as well, I'll typically take more of the director role at that point. And shoots like that, Wolf, just anytime I like go near the camera, he'll just slap my hand. He's get out of here. It's not your job. Go. Get out of here. Like I don't want to deal with you. Yeah, I feel like you have to get used to having those dynamics though. And like, the longer you're working with someone, the more you kind of just have that telekinetic back and forth where you can read each other. So we've definitely gotten there. I mean, we started 2017, so we're going on 8 years now, and it's gotten easier as time's gone on. We've really figured out how to communicate properly to each other and kind of know what the other one is needing in most situations, so that we're not, stepping on each other's toes or making it difficult for the other one to do their job.
Did you guys know right off the bat what your positions were going to be when you started the company, or were you guys doing everything?
Mm-hmm.
You guys were both wearing the same hats until you guys naturally fell into your own positions?
Oh yeah, man. Well, so I had been freelancing in the creative space for about 2 years prior to Wolf moving out to Arizona. So I've been in Arizona 9 years. We started the company just over 7 years ago now. He followed me out here when I moved to Phoenix after having lived in northern Arizona for 2 years. So when he moved out here, I already had a small client base, but it was completely spread out over all mediums. So I was doing a little bit of graphic design for one person and doing some web design for somebody else and helping someone else write blogs and do a little bit of copy for their website. And then one client would be like, hey, we need headshots done. Can you also do some little videos for social media? So before we figured out how exactly we were going to build the company, we were doing everything. And he was having to learn how to do stuff that he never learned how to do. I was having to learn how to think a little bit differently on how to approach projects. On shoots, we also were kind of just when you're first starting out, you don't understand really how to network right or build a crew properly or really understand what every role on set's supposed to do. We were doing everything, it's okay, cool. We got a 2-man team and I'm the director, but I'm also monitoring audio and I have some gaffing experience. I'll set up the lights. You set up both cameras and monitor both of them.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that for the first year and a half. And then I think we kind of naturally started to fall into the roles that, I think suit us best. And I've always been a little bit more of the networker, the people person. I spent a lot of time at events and going out to public stuff to promote us or to just make more connections. I do a lot of the client outreach. Wolf tackles kind of all the back end stuff. So, getting stuff prepped for a CPA, taking care of equipment, making sure that everything is clean, making sure the batteries are charged, making sure cables are organized. I can't take credit for that stuff. If it weren't for him, it'd be a mess, and everything would be off the shelves all the time and in different places. And, so he really keeps the back of house super neat and organized so that we're never, missing something or, finding ourselves without something on a shoot. And I make sure that, on the client side, that all that communication is being done effectively, promptly. Projects are being produced on deadline, So
We definitely have a similar dynamic where, like with equipment, Kirill's on top of that. If I'm in charge of it, it's a mess. But then
yeah,
on the other side, it's like our Google Drive's a mess if Kirill's in charge of it. So I don't let him. I don't let him near that stuff. The thing that irritates me the most is like I'll go into a folder and I'll see like the duplicate folder just like worded differently. I'm like, I'll go into, I'm like, what the hell is this thing?
That might be a backup one. That's all that it is.
Oh my god!
No, that was more so like back in the day. But like it's interesting hearing your story and your dynamic because there's a lot of similarities with Dario and I and also that you guys pretty much learned the industry and the craft just by doing it, yourselves, right? A lot of people that we've talked to, they've either worked at other companies, they've worked in the industry freelancing for many years before jumping into it. Like a lot of like really big companies are because they have like people who worked somewhere else for like maybe 10 years, then jumped into it and then had like a good foundation, good connections and solid backing to get started. When you're starting in this industry from scratch, you're learning how to do it, but also you're trying to run a business at the same time. So it's kind of like, when you think about it, it really is the wrong way to start a business like this in this industry. Like typically the best way is go out, freelance for a bit, learn by yourself, maybe go work at another company for a few years, figure out if you even want to start your own business from doing it, right? Because I feel like a lot of people might do it and then think, oh, I don't want to actually run a video production company. This is a little bit too crazy. But when we started, we didn't know what we were getting into.
That's like so many businesses though, Kirill. Like think about how many, like if you're like an entrepreneur, for example,
I know.
a tech entrepreneur, you're not going to go work at Facebook for a bit. You'll just go to like an incubator and just kind of get your bearings from there.
That's true. That's true. So it's like, it's an interesting career path. That's all I'm saying, that you don't see it too often, at least in our space.
No. And, you said, kind of it's the wrong way to do it. I mean, we did everything the wrong way,
Yeah.
like everything. I think part of it was a mix of like cockiness and arrogance and sheer stupidity and willpower, and it's funny because like I look at how we started and I look at where we're at now, and where we're at now came from like, a couple of years ago, looking back and being like, okay, maybe I should humble myself and realize I don't know fuck all about anything. And but when we got started, it was just like, I just know I want to do this. We want to make films. We want to tell stories. We want to just like, and we don't, both of us were kind of at a point in our lives where we didn't want to be working directly for someone else. I had just spent, not enough time directly in the video production industry, but kind of adjacent and creative, where it was like, okay, I'm doing this job for someone else. I'm making labels for your company. I'm doing posters or I'm taking pictures, and you're paying me $15 an hour, and I'm just I'm not really getting what I want out of this.
You're not vested enough.
Yeah.
You have no stake in the matter.
Yep. And I had one of my closest friends who, was one of the reasons I moved out to Arizona in the first place. Just kept pushing me. He's like a very entrepreneurial type. He's like, just get your LLC. Just get your LLC. Just get set up as an entity. Just figure that part out and then figure the rest out later. And that was kind of the start of it. When I look back, it's like we were definitely a lot cockier when we started and we knew so much less. But I think that journey has been humbling. B, I think this is just how I learn, so like just kind of having to dive in and figure it out, is always a really exciting challenge for me. And, I don't know if I could have done it the other way because I'm just too impatient,
We had
Yeah,
we had a
I know
similar
what you
thing
mean.
with this podcast. Like when we started and we started talking to actual companies, like people that knew what they were doing. I think Carol and I after each episode go, wow, we are really far behind in this race.
Like we learned
we,
so much in
we
that
thought
1 hour.
we thought we knew something, but Jesus, wow, we weren't doing anything beforehand. Like, what were we doing?
Yeah, it's like it was that realization that we were, man, we've talked about this so many times, but it's like, yeah, like that realization that we were just two freelancers basically working together for many
Yeah.
years. It wasn't really a business. And
Yeah.
we talking to other people on the show made us realize like, wow, so that is what a business is like.
Yeah.
That is how you do it. And then, yeah, just I think, and then 2021 was just focused on converting it into an actual business at that point.
You know, it's funny. Our timeline was kind of similar because it was like 2017 through like 2019, beginning of 2020. Felt almost like just how you described it. It's like we're just two guys who are kind of we're a company, but we're really just showing up and freelancing and
Yeah.
we shoot. And then
Yeah.
for me, I think the big shift came when I like started to wrap my head around like it was kind of hard to get a solid idea of how do we price ourselves? How do we charge for these services? How do we make sure that we have a really solid workflow all the way from concept to, you know, creation and final delivery rather than just you know, kind of going in blind and being like, oh yeah, I know that we're going to go shoot this thing and we need these shots and, you know, like really figuring out how to do proper pre-production. Those were like the big shifts for us. Once we started to get that stuff dialed in and grow our network of people that we could rely on, I think it incredibly raised our value and what we were able to provide. You know, and I look at like the clients that we're working with now, the projects that we're working on now, it's completely different. Like it's, and I think that only came from, you know, having to stumble until it's like, oh, now it clicked.
I feel like
Yeah.
there's like different shifts you go through because the first shift might be where you realize you're just a freelancer, right? But you want to become a business. Then the stage after that, it's like, okay, you are a business, but because like for us, for example, I feel like we're in that stage. We're a business, like it's me and Kirill, but it feels like it's still
Still two guys.
on the cusp of going back into freelancing. I feel like the next
Yeah.
stage would be like, okay, we're a business that has employees, and you know, to have employees, you need to have like some type of consistent recurring income. So that means that you kind of have your grasp in the industry, right? And then there's probably going to be another shift after that where it's like, okay, we're just a small business. We should go to becoming like a bigger. I feel like there's always like stages you want to move on to after you know, accomplish one, right?
It's like a game. It's like leveling up. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leveling
I
up the
think it's-
character.
You know, I think it's also depends on your goals because you guys are you said you're in Canada, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how different it is structured there, at least for us over here. You know, we've kind of opted to stay as a two-man team in terms of how the company's organized as an LLC. But we just crew out depending on what.
That's what we
kind of
do too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yes. Yes.
It-
So it's for me, at least I found that unless we were at a point where it was like, okay, we're making, you know, X amount in revenue a year, and now it makes sense. It almost gets so expensive to have employees, and as nice as I would be to have that,
Yeah.
then you guys know how the video industry is. Unless you're just busy all year round, you're gonna have times where it's like this and like this. I'm like, if I have
Yeah.
an employee, I'm paying them to sit around and do what? You know? Like
I think the good like I think traditional like a company with traditional type of employees where it's like, you know, whatever, like for our industry kind of doesn't work. I think the skeletal approach to that definitely does work because we've seen and heard from a lot of companies that do have like a small team.
Mhm.
So like we're of the same mindset as you, to be honest with you, like two people, but I feel like lately I've been thinking about it a bit more and it's like we should try to grow it at least so that we get not like 10
Couple
employees,
people,
but like
like
a
a
couple
couple.
people. Yeah, just so there's some type of like Because I'm thinking about it more so in terms of like, okay, we get some projects and then we do have our freelancers, but what if that guy becomes unavailable? Or what if we have to do just like a lot of minor stuff that, it doesn't make sense to kind of hire a freelancer for? It would just be nice to have someone that's internal to help us out with
Well,
that. So,
the other thing is like bringing in other people. They're going to be invested in the business more so than if you're just hiring a freelancer, and they could bring something to the table that maybe you didn't even think about, right? I mean, look at how it is with you and your brother. You each bring something to the table that really
yeah.
helps add to the business. Like when we're talking about employees in our industry, we're not, like as Dario said, we're not looking to just hire just a shooter, just an editor. We're looking for people who have like a willingness to even like kind of grow beyond that and just kind of contribute more to the business, whether it be ideas, organization, help. Like I've always envisioned the perfect size business for us was like 5 people, like max 5 people. And that could be something like someone who's like head of post, head of production, head of project management, client outreach, and stuff like that. Those are a lot of the most key roles, but they also kind of spill over into other aspects of the business that really can kind of help grow. So it's like you're kind of getting good value with the people that you're bringing in. You don't like, don't get me wrong, we all need editors. So like that's kind of like a given. An editor is going to be really focused and dialed in on doing post production.
Who's the fifth person? Because I'm thinking about it right now. It would be me, you. I would think a project coordinator, and an editor. Like, who would you want on top of that?
And then like some other kind of hybrid person that kind of just
Wouldn't that be like kind of like because the project coordinator I would kind of see as like a producer in training, no?
I would say maybe not just a producer, maybe if not a third producer, like maybe like
we eventually
a
want
shooter
them to
that wants
grow
to
and
produce, a shooter that is looking to get into producing maybe or something like that. I felt like that the fifth role is a little bit more flexible, but anyway, like it's not so much like the specific roles. It's just I felt like in terms of a size of a business, no more than 5. I
yeah,
think
5 would be good.
is kind of good. It's like a good solid base in terms of like a core team, and then you just expand out depending on what you need. That's what I've always felt is like
Yeah, that's a
ideal.
good number.
Yeah, it's funny. We kind of similar to you guys. We've stayed away from bringing on an employee simply because of the sheer cost of what we have to match,
Yeah.
versus being able to work with contractors. Obviously, keeps our costs low, which means we can reinvest in the business and the gear and all that stuff. We just got really lucky too, though. I mean, we had 2 different editors that are they're best friends, and they both work in post production. They both kind of went from just freelancing to starting their own post production house, and now they've been like kind of doing that almost full time. We just got really lucky. At like the moment that our business started kind of taking off about 2 years ago, they were like, "Hey, we're looking to start doing this." So we lucked out in that even though they're technically a separate company, we kind of have this post production house that handles 90% of our edits, and they're like, we've been working them for 4 years. So it's almost like having an employee without some of the tax obligations.
Like a
Um,
synergy, right? Like we have a similar thing with Indigo Events. They handle all of our photography
yeah,
work, and then with Audio Process, who also is a sponsor of the show. Anytime we need audio people, I always ask them. And then even for like grips, gaffers and PAs or equipment, like there's a Canada Film equipment. We just use them exclusively for that, really. So I get what you mean. Like there's synergies you build with different businesses that could kind of, it's almost like a plug-in.
You're like dipping your toes into it. You're developing key partnerships that help fill those gaps or those needs that an employee typically would, which is the smart way to go about it right now because also they also want to work with other companies as well, develop
Yeah.
their
right.
portfolios, and it's just funny that you mentioned that it's like it's another team of 2. Like, are you guys gonna next find like a team of 2 cinematographers
Yeah.
that always work together, or a team of 2? I don't know.
Yeah, it's it's a lot of that, because I noticed that same type of energy between a lot of the other businesses that we work with. We're lucky enough that Phoenix is I would say right now it's a very collaborative market. Where it's a small enough market where everyone kind of knows each other. It's a big enough market where, you know, everyone tends to be staying working around the same time.
Mm.
You know, so it's pretty rare that I see that, you know, there's some of us that'll be like just dead on work while the other ones are like riding on a wave. You know, it's usually there's times where the market seems to kind of line up for everyone, and if it's slow for one person, it's slow for everyone. Um, but I've noticed that with a lot of them, there's a lot of guys out here where it'll be one or two guys, or you know, core team of two, possibly three, and then you know we all kind of hire each other out for the different you know jobs that come to town, or different projects with clients. So yeah, there's something about that number, that like 2 to 3, where it's kind of perfect for like your core
Golden
team
number.
On the production side.
I would say too, like I've heard from other people who've had businesses where there were 3 partners where it's a lot more unstable than 2, because a lot of the time, sometimes 2 of them would be making most of the decisions and they would always overrule the third one. That will cause like some problems in the business. In terms of like people that are actually like running the business itself, I've heard that it's always good to have a good even number, like either 2 or 4. And then maybe after that you can have odd numbers, but if it's like 3, it doesn't sound like a very favorable dynamic, because it could be a lot of overruling and a lot of resentment that could come from it. I mean, I guess it depends.
We
on
have seen the opposite
partnership,
too,
but
yeah. Like even one of
like
their
it all depends.
yeah, like what was it, Captive Creative is 3 partners. And I like how like with 3 you can,
Oh, yeah.
also kind of just focus. You can cover more ground more easily, because everyone
True,
has like a
true.
domain to focus on. Like you could have person that, like let's say for ours, it could be person focusing on the creative side of the production, person focusing on the marketing, and person focusing on like the sales and other business aspects.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to break roles down if you have 3 partners now.
Yeah, like I think that definitely is like one aspect to it, and like I said, it really depends on what kind of partnerships you have. I mean, don't get me wrong, even the partners of 2 can also fail very easily. We've seen
Yeah.
that happen before. So it's all about being with the right people and everybody knowing what their roles are, and then being very open and having that kind of relationship with your partners.
I'm curious to ask too. So with you guys, how is it that your guys' roles end up breaking down? Because I know with we talked a little bit about myself and Wolf, and our secret weapon too is that we have our Chris, who is our like creative producer slash script writer slash producer. Like she's amazing. And having brought her on, even though she's still just a contractor, kind of takes care of what you're talking about right now, which is like she's focused on a lot of the creative and the writing. I'm focused on the client relations and managing the business side of things. Wolf is focused on, day of, making sure that the crew and the shoot and all that is organized, gear is good. How do the roles fall on your guys' end? Is it, does one of you do the writing? Does one of you do all the client stuff? How's that broken down?
It's kind of like how you described it, where like Dario handles a lot of like the client relations and the outreach and a lot of like,
Sales.
the business development
Sales,
aspect. Yeah, mainly sales. Dario handles mainly the sales aspect, whereas I handle a little bit more of the creative and, like you said, also like the production aspect to make sure that we're executing the projects. Like basically he's bringing in the projects and overseeing and helping execute them based on what the briefs and but what the briefs are. So that's kind of like the main aspect. And then obviously like probably as it is with you guys, there's going to be a little bit of spillover in other aspects where we do one thing, we get feedback from the other. There's a lot of feedback going back and forth between us. It's not like we try to leave ourselves to do the tasks initially, but we always look at each other for feedback to kind of help improve things as we go.
Especially for like development of the project itself. Let's say it's something where like there's like it's not just hired gun type of work, like we're creating an actual story for it. I'll often be like the client's eyes when we're doing the creative. So like Kirill might develop like the creative angles, but I'll go like, no, I just know they're not gonna like this, so I'll kind of like guide it into a direction where the client will approve it. And then when it comes to the actual productions, basically what we'll do is if it's Kirill and I on a shoot, like I'll take on more of like the producing side, directing, and then Kirill can just focus on like the cinematography and everything else.
Yeah, we kind of
You
like
know,
co-directed a little bit, like, but Dario kind of just handles more of that aspect a bit more because he's handling more of like the producing aspect with the client relations. But like a lot of the time when him and I tackle a project together, we're both like discussing like how we need to do it and things like that.
we have like we've started to develop this thing where like it's basically like I'll be like more involved on like, obviously the onboarding of like bringing the client in, the pre-production, but then like the torch kind of gets passed to Kirill, especially like from like pre-production to post. So like during pre-production, I'll get passed on to Kirill, and then like we're both collaborating on the production, and then during post, I usually let Kirill handle that, and then I'll again be like the client's eyes when the drafts come in. So I try not to look at the post too much until like it's almost ready to send to the client, just so we have like a fresh set of eyes on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very similar with us. It's definitely similar dynamics because once we get to post, that's almost entirely myself and Chris, and then Wolf will just get eyes on it when it's like, okay, it's almost there. Is it ready to get color graded? Okay, cool. You know, yeah.
What's the market in Arizona like?
Shifting. I'd say slowly shifting. So for the past decade or so, it's kind of become a very, very commercial market out here, which has been, I think, good for work, like, and good for where we've been at, where like we were talking about when we started this company, we were so inexperienced from a business owner standpoint, and from a like we kind of had to build our entire network from scratch. So for that reason, being in a very commercial market, I think was helpful because it kind of allowed us to make the mistakes we needed to make without. It was just easier because it was like, okay, there's always going to be more businesses. We can just keep kind of going down this path for now. 2 years ago, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago? Anyhow, the law just kicked into effect. I think it was signed like 2 years ago, but it just started as of this January. Arizona reinstated its film tax credit program, and it's a little bit different than it used to be. But now we have, for the past 10 years where this had gone away, we became just, this wasn't a place to come do movies anymore. And so we've just become a flyover state where people from California would be like, well, we'll just go film in New Mexico. We'll just go film in, other states nearby that have better tax incentives. Now that we reinstated that, we're starting to see, I've noticed substantially more Netflix shows and documentaries and just episodic stuff that is now coming out to Arizona because it's so damn expensive to film in California. And so it feels as though we're on the cusp of like the industry taking a direction back towards narrative and episodic, and I'm super excited about that because at the end of the day, that's, I think we want to be working kind of on both ends of the spectrum. I think we like the opportunity to write and do our own commercials and ads and kind of work with clients on campaigns. But we've really kind of shifted from doing as much of the hired gun work and working more on, being a more active creative part of that process with our clients. So we love doing that work. We want it to be story driven. We don't want to just be showing up and just shooting. We really like to have a little bit of the reins and guiding where the campaign goes alongside the client. Flip side of that is like, I'd love to, get on a movie shoot and be able to go spend 30 days on set filming narrative stuff, So that's kind of where the market's been headed. It's been really cool to see. We just had not too long ago, we had like the first movie this year that used that tax incentive program open to like a sold out audience. So, it's slow to the taking, but it's starting to happen.
You mentioned you would love to go and film like a narrative for like a month or something. We actually had a guest come on recently, and he mentioned that like it was great for him to go and do all these TV shows, but he noticed that his corporate business suffered a lot because of that, right? Because again, if you're out and you're unavailable to your clients for 6 months, well, what are they going to do? They're just going to move on, right? And you can't really get those clients back once they've signed with another agency, right? Like they're just gonna, the clients want consistency, right? It's kind of like double-edged sword in a way. It's like you get to cross, cross something off your checklist. Oh, I did this, but then it's like, ooh, my business is really gonna suffer.
Well, I think it depends what your long-term goals are, right? So for us, I think that we always viewed the 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 end goal is to make movies. The end goal is to produce our own stuff. You know, 5 years down the line for me, I want to be producing my own documentaries. Hopefully, have one of the two of us have sold a script or something like that. Um, I think there's just an inevitable point where like we do this work because it's sustenance and it helps us grow a business and it teaches us and we learn a lot from it. Um, Everyone might be different in this regard. For me, I want to make movies in the long run. And I think once we get to the point where we turn that stone, like there's probably no turning back. There might be, it's just going to mean you're doing less and less commercial work and more movie work. And I'm okay with that. Um, I think long-term wise, I'd rather be telling stories that impact and that really, really fuel that creative need I have to self-express. And there are limitations on that when you're working on commercial work, you know? Um, so I don't think it's wrong to like one or the other. I just think for me personally, that's kind of the track that I'd like to go. There's the reality of what we were talking about before, though, which was when we started the company, we didn't know what the hell we were going to do. It was like, we got to start somewhere. We need to make money right now because we're both broke and we just dropped out of college. So let's go, and but the more I get into it, it's like we never really have lost sight of the goal, and we do talk about this stuff a lot. Like we're self-producing a short film in a little bit to kind of start to dip our feet in that water and have more stuff that is just completely made by us, but that kind of fits in line with the direction we want to go, years from now. Yeah, and in the meantime, it's fun to get on, even if it's just like I did a week shooting for a TV show out in LA not too long ago. That was a hell of a lot of fun. But you're right. It's like you get to a point where it's like I was getting client phone calls and I'm having to be like, okay, half an hour on lunch. I got to reply to all these emails and then back in there, and when you're pulling like a 14-hour day, that's exhausting, and it's easy to lose track of stuff.
So your long-term plan is just to go into producing documentaries, like directing, shooting, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think being a good business owner and kind of being entrepreneurial is a very good quality because it's shown me how to balance a budget and manage a crew and like have my head not just thinking about, oh, I'm the director, I need to direct this thing, but not having any context as to what all the other roles on the set are actually doing to support your role. How to make sure that you're staying on time and listening to your first AD, how to make sure that like just all the kind of things around that. So like I'm grateful that I've had that experience coming from this side of the industry that I think will make me better at that role when we take that leap. But yeah, long term, like if I'm still doing commercials 20 years from now, I want it to be because someone's given us an opportunity to write the whole damn thing ourselves and just take get weird with it. But yeah, documentaries and narrative would be the more so the path that I'd like to take. It's just that kind of like I was saying about Arizona, the market has not been for narrative out here. It's starting to kind of pick up that way. Because it's been so commercial, there really wasn't much option to do it unless you were just self-funding everything yourself.
Do you work with a lot of agencies or are you direct to client a lot of the time?
I'd say it's about 50-50 both. So we get about probably about 60% direct to client and then 40% agencies. And we've started to pivot more towards working when we're doing direct to client stuff. We prefer to work with clients who have an annual budget. So that makes it a lot easier for us to kind of go into the relationship knowing, hey, from January to December, we don't do retainers because that might work for some people. For us, it does not make sense because the scope of each production varies so much that it's like I will It's just not for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah,
We're on the same page on that one.
Which is funny because I see so many of these like ads for guys on social media who's like guaranteed $3,500 monthly retainers. I'm like, you're gonna go fucking crazy, man. You're gonna hate that.
I don't know how they do it.
3,500. Listen, it's 3,500, but they're not telling you that it's like you have to work for that company every single day. You know, we had a whole episode. I forget which episode it was with one guest where we were all going over, like, we broke down the retainer model to kind of see like why it might work and why it probably won't work for most people. And a lot of the time is what's the incentive for a client to do a retainer, which is to get a discount on all the services, right? So right there, you're going to be working.
No, it wasn't discount.
That's a part of it. I'm getting to it. So firstly, they're looking for a discount in their eyes. That's what they're looking for, right? And so you're going to provide, say, 10% discount, as an example, on like, say, $100,000 budget, right? So you're going to lose 10 grand right there. But yeah, it's nice to have 90 grand in work that goes forward. But the other cost that you don't realize is the inflation that you're going to get hit with as well. At the end of that 10% really becomes like 20% at the end of the day. And you have to be on call.
That wasn't what they were talking. Okay, so the benefit to the client. No, what you're saying, Kirill, is what the production company would pitch as the benefit to the client.
Yeah.
The other company we were talking to that does retainers, they mentioned that what they're providing really is availability to that client. Yeah. Because, like, let's say that client wants to work with you, but you might get busy. Then, you know, you kind of, it's a order of who comes in first, right? Yeah, that was a benefit. But yeah, you brought up good points with the inflation that wasn't mentioned when you do these pitches, and also the discount. You're right away, you're losing money. You do get consistent income for the year, but at what cost, right?
It's not worth it to me to end up presenting the client, because the 1 month where they inevitably ask me for like 20-30% more, but then you've got this relationship where you're relying on them for your monthly security. I'd rather take the risk and not have that security, because I don't want to resent my clients, you know, and I don't want to create an opportunity in the relationship where I can start to resent them over something financial, when it's like the easy solution for that is just pay me my rate, and we will provide the services at the top level of quality as you expect them. And that's it. So, you know, it's different for everybody. Like I said, this is what works for us. I can't speak for other people. I don't want to like totally go shit on a model, because that's not what we do. I just found that for us, that's what ends up happening with me, is I end up just kind of being like, oh, I'm like upset that I'm doing the work, and I shouldn't feel this way. So yeah,
you brought up an interesting point there. Sorry to chime in, but like I like what you pointed out there, that a lot of people also don't talk about, is what is your relationship with that client going to be when you do jump into the retainer model? Nobody really talks about that. Like what you described is like a really good ideal situation in our industry, where a client comes to you and consistently comes to you to hire you for your services because they genuinely want to work with you. That's a good dynamic right there. They see the value, and they want to continue to work with you. So like any clients that you've been working with for 3 years straight, to have them keep coming back on that project to project basis shows a very good sense of like value that they see in you. Whereas if you jump into a retainer model and then after like a month, you guys realize that it's not the right fit, you guys are going to be forced to work together on projects you don't want to be working on together. And then, yeah, like that's a very good point, is that there can be a resentment that comes from that later, and then it's like you're kind of stuck.
Like Bear, you might not know this, but we've only found, out of the guests that have come here, come on the show, only a couple have gotten working retainer models with clients, and the ones that do have a working one, it's so specific to that particular client. Like again, they've already been working with them for years, so they already know roughly what they're spending on a yearly basis. And how much work they got to do with them, to the point where it just made sense for both parties.
It's like a given. Yeah. It's like a given type relationship. Yeah.
So like these ones that people pitch where it's like, oh, you know, for like 3,500, again, we don't see that working at all. But like,
not at all.
It's so case specific to get a retainer model working.
Yeah.
So there's so many
Or-
different variables involved, right? And again, there's so many different ways you can go about it as well. Like I remember someone mentioning that they basically have like a bucket.
A bucket, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bucket system, and basically out of each quarter they would just pull money out of that bucket, right? So if they ran out within the first month, because that's a busy quarter, then it is what it is, and then the client
Yep.
can either decide to pull money from another bucket, put it in there to continue doing work, or because over the course of the year, there's like different periods where the client would be busy, right? They can
Yep.
like
Yeah.
reallocate funds to that specific quarter. That's
Well-
another option we heard, which is interesting, and it kind of makes sense. So there's no need to go like every month we have to create this much
Yeah.
amount. It's basically dependent on whatever, right? And then I think
like-
they also had a disclaimer where it's like, if they don't use up the whole thing, then the client gets that money back, which is another thing that does make sense. And it's like,
Yeah.
if we need to use it, it's there. If we don't, you get it back, right?
It's like buying a $100,000 gift card at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. That's basically
It's
what
a
it
gift
was.
card
Yeah.
model. It's the gift
Yeah,
card
gift
model
card
approach.
model. Yeah, that's what it is.
We've, like I said, I'll never fault anyone for finding a model that works for them. For us, that just doesn't make sense, you know.
Of course.
So the direct to clients that we work with are pretty much all on either, you know, if they just find us in their first time, then obviously it's just a project per project. We tend to prefer working with clients where we're sitting down, you know, October, November, talking through the whole budget for the year and being like, what are we doing in January? What are we doing? You know, what's Q1 look like? What's Q2 look like? What's
Well,
Q3
that's what I
look
wanted
like?
to ask you. You said clients with an annual budget.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
are
can
you
I hold on one second.
Sorry.
Can I
Yeah, go ahead.
30 seconds? I just gotta grab a charger. For some reason this one isn't working. I have
Okay.
two chargers for the laptop, so I apologize, guys.
No
Give me
worries.
just
No
a
worries.
second.
We'll be back right after these messages. Dario, that's such a it's not the retainer model people want. They want the gift card
Gift
model.
card, gift
That's
card.
what it is. We got a name for it finally.
we gotta like trademark the.
We should patent that. Yeah, like it's like, oh my God, as soon as that takes off, all those like sales gurus are gonna be like, yo, you want them to pre-buy. You want them to pre-buy.
You
Like,
guys,
that'll be the
you
next
guys
big
heard
thing.
it here first, okay? We
Yeah.
came up with it.
The gift card approach to video production. Should we actually go and get real gift cards? Just give them out to the client. It's like,
And you know, we gotta bring the square machine. You know, the thing you just tap it every time we go to a
Guys-
shoot. They just tap the card.
we just give people 25 laps dollars, you know, instead of a Starbucks gift card, you know,
what's
like
that
we
thing
just
in the
do
office? What's that thing in the office? The
Shroot bucks, the Shroot bucks, exactly.
the laps bucks.
Yeah, you know what? That's what we're gonna start doing. We give clients like, here's 1,000 laps bucks that you can use towards your next project.
Oh my god.
Next April Fools, we're doing that. That's what we're doing.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Dario, sorry, you were gonna ask a question.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, you like working with clients that have like an annual budget for. I'm assuming just video creation, right? Video content, not marketing.
Yeah.
But
Typically, we're working with the marketing department kind of hand in hand.
yeah,
But
Right.
you know, I like to
That's
say
not
like
it's not
I-
first timers, right? It's like clients that you've already established a relationship with, right?
It depends. So actually, both of the two that we have right now that we have that kind of relationship with. One of them was completely we actually got cold reached out to by someone who followed our Instagram page, loved what we did, reached out to us and was like, "Hey, I'm the brand manager for this big company. Can we have a conversation?" And through talking to her, I realized like she had been kind of following us for a while. She had had a negative experience with another company in town. Kind of hired them to do one shoot, didn't exactly go as they had planned, and then reached out to us. And we just started talking about, you know, doing this campaign with them throughout the year. Once we did one video for them, one department in the company reached out to her and was like, "Hey, who did that?" And so all of a sudden, we now have this, you know, big Arizona company that has locations in Tucson and Phoenix and 1,300 employees, that has a pretty sizable marketing budget for the year. And so we became not just the video team for her department, but then another department and then another department, and then they need some internal videos for how they sell to their corporate clients. And so, the bulk of the work is like this campaign that we're doing for them that's like an outward facing campaign. But then that also came with a whole bunch of other having to figure out like, oh, well, we're also doing your end of year video, which is like an hour-long presentation that has so many moving pieces to it. That's a whole separate budget, So I like working with clients like that because I know that there's kind of there's like lateral mobility, You get one person in one department who likes it, and all of a sudden you're part of their budget for the whole year. The other client that we have that with is a museum, and that would be an example of we met the marketing director there at his previous job where he was a creative director at an agency. He left the agency, went to the museum, brought us with him, basically. And so I think it's 50-50. We've had a couple of these relationships like this. We had a similar relationship with a substance abuse center, it's a treatment center, where they kind of had like it wasn't a retainer, but they had kind of a monthly maximum that they could spend on video production, interviews, testimonials. And so we kind of knew like, okay, throughout the whole year, we're going to, kind of have a rough number of everything we're going to do. And you just give us your goals every month and we'll tell you if we can fit that into the budget and make it realistic. So it's nice for us because that way I can look a year ahead and say, oh, okay, so I know that whatever, $300,000 of our revenue is locked in, no matter what, and that might vary a little bit, but I don't have to stress month to month. And I also don't have the same checklist of like, we were talking about retainers. Like we tried that in the beginning. And that's what I ended up finding with us was that some clients, when you're doing a good job for them, they don't complain. It's just like, oh, it doesn't matter that this 1 month we weren't able to get that 10th video, we ended up with 9. But then you get some clients where it's like, if they don't count 10, it doesn't matter the quality of the other 9. They're asking for a discount. They're asking for money back. They're asking you to show up for another day to shoot, and I just don't like running into that, whereas if I look at, client A and they're like, hey, my budget for the year is $160,000. And I'm like, cool. I know that roughly for what you're trying to accomplish, we can get X amount of shoots out of this. And let's leave a little bit of wiggle room for the unknown, for the one project that's going to need a more thorough audio mix, the one project where, we're going to send it off and get 6 different versions of it at different lengths cut together. So the post-production is going to be higher on it. So that's kind of the way that we've gone. And, we fell into that a little bit. And once we started working with clients in that manner more, I was like, oh, I got to do this more. Because it ends up being that same, like you end up having the same result as what the retainer model promises, I think, which is consistent monthly recurring revenue. It's not as guaranteed for us, but it's big enough projects and it's more room to play around, I feel.
It's an understanding between you and the client. It's kind of like a promise to work with you type approach that you've kind of taken care of. Like it's almost like basically making the order at the beginning of the year and then just kind of like, here's our intention of what we're going to work with you this year. Like we've kind of done that with one client, except the difference is that we actually have budgeted in like just one simple contract. It's like, here's the 5 videos that we're going to do for you throughout the year. We know exactly what it's going to be like. Let's lock that in. And then if there's additional work that comes up, which often there is, then we do that as well. So it's kind of like, I mean, the way you could probably even like guarantee it for yourself a little bit more as a suggestion would be like, maybe if you know you're going to do 10, lock in like 3, lock in like 3 in a contract. It's pretty understandable that you'll likely do that. Right. And then the other ones can kind of come in. So it's kind of like, getting them to just like put their skin in the game just a little bit, like that's maybe like one suggestion I would have on that approach rather than just a conversation.
Are you signing them on for the whole year? Or is it just like,
It's
So
not
this
a
month we'll do like this. You'll do a contract on a monthly basis, and it'll incorporate all the.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think on the contract side of
Sure.
things how
Yeah.
that
Sure.
how that
On the
works.
contract side of things, basically we scope out what this campaign was going to be, and then there's kind of there's a list or a section where we talk about all the deliverables that they can expect, and it is very clearly specified in the section above that it's like this is an estimation based on the schedule that you gave me, based on all the meetings we've had, based on all the info. It's like this can fluctuate. Which in our case it has. Like there's been this one client is an HVAC client. So they run a plumbing company. They do like HVAC and plumbing, electrical, all the home services, right? We scoped out this campaign for them throughout the year. It came out to be roughly, basically we're going to be shooting between 20 and 27 kind of mini doc style videos to support this campaign. When we started working on some of them, we had quoted out a little bit lower cost per shoot because of how they had explained the shoots. Okay, we just locked in a basic budget range, and they're with us throughout the campaign. That's kind of what the contract stipulates. What ended up happening is like we started getting through some of the shoots and realizing, okay, I don't think you guys are going to, because of your internal, the way you guys work, I don't think we're going to be able to schedule this number of them. It's probably going to be less per month. But that now means we still have the same budget because they approved the budget. So we can just spend more on making each shoot a little bit more high
So
production.
are they signing with you from the beginning? Like the thing that we're just trying to understand is like obviously like that's how it works from the project to project side of things, which is normal for every business. But it's like because you're having these conversations with them at the beginning where they're saying, here's $100,000 for the, or like we have $100,000 to spend with you for the year. Is it like a contract that you sign saying like we're gonna spend this much money with you this year? They're not giving it to you right away, but they're going to or something. Oh, so you are doing a contract. So it is kind of like you are kind of doing the gift card approach. Like you are doing it.
A little bit. It's the acknowledgement that everything that they've scoped out should cost about that much. It doesn't mean they have to spend all of it. They're also not getting any of it back, right? They're not giving us any of it up front. It's just like we've scoped it out and this is what we think it's going to cost. It could be more, it could be less, depending on all these factors. And it's not like they can't leave. Like
so it's not locked in. Yeah. Okay.
No, because for each of these shoots, like I said, there might be some months where we're doing 3 shoots for the client. There might be some months where it's just one big one, right? It's more just about you've acknowledged that this is what it should cost. If it goes over that, we're going to have conversations about it ahead of time. If it stays under that, then there's no conversation needed to be had.
How are you invoicing for that?
I'm sorry, before you ask that question, I just want to make a note. It's like it's almost like you're doing it the approach of how the Sopranos do business. You know, there's nothing written, but there's like a good understanding that you guys are going to do a lot of work together.
Well, I was born in Italy, so
that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh my god! So yeah, you're essentially going with that approach.
A handshake here.
Listen, I can imagine them showing up like Furio. Give me $1,000.
Give me one video project.
I mean, we are, the enforceability side. So you asked about that. So the way that that's done is we're very strict in what, basically, if we have all this stuff scheduled out ahead of time, right? So we kind of know when all these shoots are going to happen well in advance. Since they've kind of committed to this, they can cancel on us any time, but they owe us a minimum of 50% of what the possible remainder would be if they terminate with us within that contract term. So
wait. So it's basically like a 50% deposit, essentially. Is that what you're saying, or?
Kind of, because if we scheduled stuff out and it's already on the calendar, and then all of a sudden I got to cancel a whole bunch of shoots, whereas I could have been guaranteed X amount, let's say it's $50,000 worth of work over, the remaining 3-4 months in that contract.
Yeah.
If they cancel on it, they're allowed to terminate. They don't have to stay with us, but because they've agreed to that budget number, because they've agreed to work with us for the year, if we got all those dates on the calendar, they cancel on us, they owe us half of the remaining balance where we're at in the budget.
So you're booking
okay.
it in that initial, like at the beginning of the year, you're booking off all these rough dates, and then you're getting them to agree to pay a deposit
and we're
kind of thing.
and we're kind of we're having very. I mean, it's a different way of working with a client because I'm having constant conversations with them, and in a sense, we're talking about like doing this because we don't want to be W-2 employees. In a sense, you do kind of become kind of like an extension of their company as well. You're learning so much more about them. You're on more meetings with them, more calls with them. I'm constantly involved with these clients on I think a deeper level than we are with clients who will just like maybe reach out to us for a one-off project. The flip side is you get a lot more buy-in on the creative side. And like I said, it solves for us the problem of like worrying about financial security throughout the year, while still, if we need to, being able to walk away, and still being able to be a little bit more flexible with, with other projects that come in, because if we got a couple clients like that, then I think it does buy us the opportunity to A, say no to more stuff, B, say yes to stuff even when it's not financially feasible because we want to help a homie out or because we just have a really creative idea and we're like, screw it, I don't care if we make no money on it. Like, we don't have to worry about that right now. Like, we just go do the creative thing,
Oh,
Okay.
a lot to unpack, but honestly, like, thanks, Bear, for jumping on the show. Like, we already hit like the 1 hour mark, and
And we have to record another podcast in like 20 minutes, so we have to we gotta like cut. I gotta go to the bathroom. We gotta make another tea. Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go make more coffee because it's what time is it by you guys? Is it 10:30 there?
10:40.
I haven't had any coffee yet. I basically like woke up maybe like 15 minutes before the episode. And then I'm like, all right.
At 9:15. What are you doing, man?
I had a late soccer game yesterday, so like when I have that, I'm really tired the next morning. So
Blame it on the soccer.
Yeah.
Gotta do
He's
it.
just trying to relate to you because you're Italian.
It's
We know
all
you
right.
don't play soccer.
I get it.
Handshake. We'll talk again.
Okay, let's just cut this recording and then so everyone bye. We'll see you on the next one.
I love that outro. It's so natural, Dario.
Cool.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There we go. Now it's an official ending.
There we go.
Hey.
Okay, all right. Hey. Oh.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creatives Grab Coffee. Please make sure to follow and engage with us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app.
Creatives Grab Coffee is created by Labs Productions, a video production company based in Toronto, Canada.
Creatives Grab Coffee is also sponsored by...
My name is Miran. Welcome to Canada Film Equipment. We are a boutique rental house based in Toronto. We are here to help you guys out with all production sizes. Feel free to contact us to get a quote if you are a production house and you're looking for lighting, camera packages, or lighting and group band packages. You can see our contact information in the link below. We are more than happy to help you guys out. Make sure you follow and subscribe to creativesgrabcoffee.com. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt. Welcome to Audio Process. We are a boutique audio company doing location sound, sound design, post-sound, ADR, Foley. We service equipment. We do all your audio needs here in Toronto. We got you covered. Come on down, audioprocess.ca. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and all of the other internet things to creativesgrabcoffee.com. They'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you, and we're all going to have a real good time.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.